everybody. In this video, I'm going to show you how to calculate the ending amount in a compound interest situation. So take a deep breath and let's make this math easy. All right, so in this one, it says how much will you owe at the end of 7 years if you borrow $12,000 at an interest rate of 4.6% compounded weekly. Okay, so let's go through and identify the information we were given. So the fact that I'm looking for the amount I owe at the end of 7 years tells me that T is going to equal 7. The amount that I'm borrowing is $12,000. And I'm borrowing it at the beginning, and so that's going to be my P number. I have 12,000. And the interest rate is going to be 0.046 because that's how I would write the percentage as a decimal. And then the fact that this interest is being compounded weekly means that K equals 52 because there are 52 weeks in the year. So to calculate out the thing I need to know, which is how much will I owe at the end, so in other words, I'm looking for A because that's the ending amount. To calculate this, I just need to plug everything I know into the formula. So I would say, okay, well, A equals my original amount that I borrowed, which is $12,000, times 1 plus my total interest rate for the entire year, which is 0.046, divided by the number of weeks in the year, because that interest is going to be compounded every week. And then I'll raise this to an exponent of 52 times 7. So with order of operations, I have to simplify the stuff inside of the parentheses first. And then after I do that, then I need to do exponents and multiplication and then addition. And so I'm going to simplify the stuff inside of the parentheses, but I want to simplify my exponent as well at this point, just so that once I have my parentheses stuff calculated, then I'll be able to raise that to the exponent. So I'm going to start off by calculating out what 52 times 7 is. And it looks like that equals 364. So I'm just going to cross this off and write 364 instead. And basically that's the number of weeks that's in 7 years. And now I'm going to go ahead and simplify the stuff inside of the parentheses. So I'll clear my calculator and I need to do the division inside of the parentheses first because of order of operations. So I'll do 0.046 and divide that into the 52 weeks. And this number represents the interest rate per week. And notice that there's a little e to the -4 at the end. That basically means that this decimal place needs to be moved to the left 4 times. So this number is actually 0.000884615, etc. And so I take this decimal and I'm going to add 1 to it. And that gives me this decimal here, and you can see this is 0.0088, etc. And then this number is all of the stuff that's inside of the parentheses. So I'm going to take that number and I'm going to raise it to an exponent of 364. And that gives me this number. And so I can write this down just in case I make a mistake or something later on, so I don't have to recalculate all that. So this is going to be 1.379688. And I'm going to multiply that by 12,000. And always make sure that if you do round your decimal, that you keep at least 6 decimal places. Otherwise, you might get some pretty serious rounding errors. So I'm just going to keep this decimal that's in my calculator because then I'll have even less rounding errors. And I'm going to multiply this by 12,000. And when I do that, I end up with the answer A equals 16,556.26. And it's okay to round it at this point because this is my final answer. And it doesn't really make any sense to go past 2 decimal places when your final answer is a money answer. So this would be the amount that I would owe at the end of the 7 years if I borrowed $12,000 at this interest rate. So why don't you go ahead and try this problem on your own, pause the video, and then restart it to see how I would solve it. Okay, so on this one, it says how much money will you have at the end of 8 years, so T equals 8, if you invest $100,000 at an interest rate of 3% compounded monthly. So because I'm investing $100,000, that means that my initial amount, or P, is going to equal $100,000. The interest rate is going to be 0.03 because that's 3% as a decimal. And compounded monthly means that K equals 12. And I'm looking for how much money will you have at the end, which is A. So to calculate this, I'll just plug everything in and I'll get A equals 100,000 times 1 plus 0.03 divided by 12 raised to an exponent of 12 times 8. And just like I did on the last problem, I'm going to simplify my exponent and say 12 times 8 equals 96. Or in other words, there's 96 months that this interest is going to be compounded over. So to calculate this out, I'm going to start inside of my parentheses and I'm going to do 0.03 and divide that into 12. So this decimal is my monthly interest rate. And I'm going to add 1 because every month you also keep 100% of your original investment. And this number is going to be multiplied 96 times. So I'm going to raise it to an exponent of 96. And that gives me this decimal. This is the decimal that it's important to keep at least 6 decimal places on. So this is going to be 100,000 times 1.270868, etc. And it keeps on going. And then I'm going to multiply that decimal by 100,000. So when I multiply by 100,000, I end up with $127,086.85. And so this is the amount that I would end up with at the end of my investment with this interest rate. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope you have a good day.